Hey guys, it's Alex with Paragon Performance. Today we're going to be installing the Eventuri Carbon Fiber Intake for the C8 Corvette. This is visible through the trunk via a clear cover. Looking to pick up about 18 wheel horsepower. Let's get to the install. Using a T15 bit, remove the screws that hold the targa top latches in place. Unscrew the two plastic tie downs, there's one on each side. Using your panel pry tool, remove the plastic push clips around the base of the targa top mounts, and then remove the carpet. Using your T15 bit, remove the screws around the airbox cover. And remove the panel. Using an 8mm socket, loosen the hose clamp closest to the airbox. Locate the two 10mm screws on the back side of the airbox that mount to the top of the transmission, and remove those. And then from the front side, we need to unplug the ambient air temperature sensor so we can access the 10mm screws on the front side of the box. Then use your panel pry tool to remove the wire retaining clips on the sides of the airbox. And then unscrew the two 10mm bolts that fasten the front side of the airbox to the transmission. Using a 10mm socket, remove the 8 screws for the couplers. Remove the couplers and set aside. The harness clip locations on the back of the airbox are going to be here, here, and here. And then you'll have 3 more on this side, as well as the electrical connector and the mass airflow sensor connector. Once all of those are undone, you can pull the airbox. We're going to undo the plastic clips for the wire retaining to the back of the airbox here. We're going to pull the airbox out to access the 4 connectors on the top. You have the O2 sensor, mass airflow sensor, RF sensor, and the second O2 sensor. Use a small screwdriver to help release the clips. Use your screwdriver to remove the O2 sensor harness from the clip on the back of the airbox. And using a pair of pliers, we're going to remove the hose clamp on the transmission vent, and then remove the hose from the transmission. And then remove the airbox. Alright, so we've got the airbox here removed. Next we need to remove these air inlets here on either side. They're a 10mm bolt on the top and bottom to take those out. We will need to keep those bolts that we take out because we'll need to use them here in a later step. So next we need to remove this coupler here. We've got a hose clamp up here at the throttle body we need to undo. Then we need to disconnect this quick disconnect fitting, and then we can remove this coupler. And then we're going to hang on to this because we will need to transfer this fitting over at a later time. So now looking at the back of the stock airbox here, we have a couple items that we will need to remove to transfer over to the Eventuri brackets. One being this transmission vent line. This is just a plastic push clip. It is in a threaded hole, so you can just take and unscrew it out of there. We will also need to transfer this sensor over. However, these are plastic welded to the airbox on the earlier Corvettes. The later ones, it's actually bolted in place. If you have a plastic welded one, we will need to die grind or cut off this top nub of plastic. And then you'll need to transfer your mass airflow sensor as well. That uses a T20 Torx bit to remove that. I'm going to leave it on here for now so it's in a safe place for the time being till we're ready to actually install that. Okay. All right, so the part we just removed from the back of the airbox, this little sensor, we need to transfer over to the main bracket for the intake. This is going to get installed here at the top on the back side. You will want to make sure that the logo is facing you and that the connector is pointed towards your left side when you install it. And you're going to use the two small flange-headed Allen screws and lock nuts that are supplied to attach it to the bracket. All right, again, connector towards your left side here. You're going to want to install the screw from the back side. Otherwise it interferes with trying to get that connector plugged back in later. All right, so we've got this ready to go. We're going to get this installed in the car. All right. First thing we do before we put this bracket in, we're going to reinstall our transmission vent hose here on the transmission and get the clamp positioned. And then we're going to keep this tipped back out of the way here. We're going to take our bracket and it's going to sit on top of these two pedestals that were the original mount points of the factory airbox. And you're going to kind of just tuck the line down below it here. And then you're going to use the same two screws that you used, you're going to use the same two screws you took out of the airbox back here and reinstall those. And then from here we're going to reinstall all the Christmas tree clips. All these ones that went into the factory airbox all actually have a home on the back of this bracket. And then don't forget to plug that sensor in that we installed on the top of this bracket and re-engage the safety clip. Next, we're going to install the small bracket that is supplied with the kit. This is going to mount on the transmission in the same location that the front screws went for the original airbox. And we're going to use the two original screws to mount it down. Okay. And then if you notice these little brown plastic clips, they do have a tendency to break off when removing them from the factory airbox. If they don't break off, you will have provisions here on both sides for them to snap back into. If they did break off, you can just clip them off and then just zip tie them using their hole to the side of these brackets, just to keep them located away from the exhaust. Next, we're going to install the air inlets. These are side specific, but they are labeled left side and right side. We're going to do the right side here that's on the passenger side. We'll go up into place like so. And then you're going to use the bolts that we removed out of the OEM one and reinstall them. And then when installing these, make sure that these are centered over the hole and then kind of pushed back away from this ledge as much as possible. Next, we're going to install the rubber connections for either side. These do have a specific orientation. They are labeled filter side and their logo. So just make sure that you're putting that on. The filter side is going to attach to the intake their logo will go to the plastic connections we just installed. And these just slip on over the top. Okay, all right, next we need to transfer this fitting over to the Eventuri coupler. This style clamp will require it being pried and kind of destroy it to get it off. And then they provide a hose clamp to clamp it in place. Don't tighten it down yet, just get it installed on there so we can position it correctly later. All right, so we're going to install the coupler on the throttle body. The smaller end goes towards the throttle body, and then loosen the clamps on it, and then orientate them where it makes sense to be able to get to them once everything's installed, to tighten them down. We're going to leave everything on that coupler loose for now. We will tighten all of that up in the final steps of the intake install. Now we're going to go ahead and install the heat shields. You're just going to place over the top. You're going to use 2 of these supplied bolts. All right, so we're going to set the carpet back in here in place before we get this intake installed. And essentially what you're going to want to do is pre-cut a hole kind of in here. That'll give us the ability to take a Sharpie once we reinstall this carpet fully and be able to mark on the inside of the carpet following this outer perimeter here. We don't need to draw one along the bottom because the carpet will actually be cut on the bottom along this bent seam. So I'll get to that. All right, so we're going to install the 2 roof mounts here on either side. This should just help locate and hold the carpet in place for you so you can come inside here and trace that line we talked about. Now we're going to get the intake put in here. We've got the mass airflow transferred from the OEM one over to this. And we are going to poke that through this hole, but you also have to kind of wiggle this side to side to get it in where the couplers go. So what I like to do is I will start this side into the coupler, and then you'll just push it really firmly and it will just snake around that bracket, and then finish installing it onto the coupler. We'll firmly push it towards the driver's side here, and then fold this coupler up and just kind of slide it down and over this intake. It's a little hard to see what we're doing, but now we're going to take the intake and we're going to line it up with the coupler here through the bracket and get it pushed on there into place. All right, so we've got this installed. Make sure all your brackets, top and bottom, are all in front of the main 2 brackets. And then we're just going to take these supplied bolts and nuts, and you're going to have 1 bolt on each side of this top bracket, lines up with a slotted hole. And then on the bottom, it's a little hard for you guys to see, there's 1 bolt on this bottom portion here that attaches to the center bracket, as well as another bolt that will attach to the heat shield here. We'll just get them all started for now, and then we'll go back through and tighten them all up here in a second. Okay, off the bottom of the air box, we got to make sure that we remove this ambient temperature sensor. There is a hole in the lower bracket down here that it will snap into, and then re-plug the connector back into it. Now we're going to move over to the other side and get the coupler all buttoned up there. And then from there, we're getting the clear cover put in and the carpet put back together. So we're gonna get our clamps here moved up where we can get to them and get them tight, be able to get them tightened down. But we also need to rotate our PCV hose up to match our quick connect fitting here. I'm gonna leave it undone for now so I can tighten the hose clamps around there. Okay. Then we're going to grab the connector for our mass airflow sensor, and we're going to get that plugged in here. Now we're going to get the clear cover installed here. You do have to install this seal around the outside perimeter. If you notice it's foggy, this does have a protective film on it that we will need to peel so it's nice and clear. Let's get this reinstalled here. Now we're going to get the carpet reinstalled. After you've cut this, they do provide a seal piece to go around the outside. All right, from here you're going to get your top mounts put back in and your other hardware here in the trunk, and your install's all done. There you guys have it. Pretty easy install. One of the easiest intakes to install for the C8 Corvette. It looks good, performs well. It is visible with the deck lid open as well, which is pretty awesome. As always, like, subscribe, and comment. We'll see you guys next time.